Welcome, Warriors, to another episode of the Warrior 3 podcast. I'm Dr. Brandon Schreiner. Such a blessing to have you guys on. Today, we're talking about fitness and nutrition, and I think this is a huge topic for everybody, but especially men. There's a ton of things out there, a ton of people doing a million different things, and I find that a lot of people were confused. So we're going to do kind of a 30,000 square foot just kind of dive on fitness and nutrition. We're not going to get into a ton of detail. Some things I will, but really, I'll tell you, the concepts that we're going to talk about today, you're going to come out of this podcast if you begin to implement, because anybody can give you information. Knowledge is potential power, and so get this information, begin to utilize it, and add it into your day-to-day, and I can guarantee that you're going to be fitter and stronger in how you live, how you lead, and how you love. So our mission at Warrior 3 Project is just that, to empower men, to empower you, to live, lead, and love strong in your fitness and your health, and how you lead your family, your spiritual relationships, how it is that you are Jesus to your family, your kids, and how you really begin to lead like Jesus in your place of work, but also your relationships, your marriage, how you're treating coworkers, how you treat your family. Do other people want to be led by you? And so those are great questions to ask yourself. You can go to warrior3project.com. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. That's one of the greatest things that you can do to support the podcast is just go subscribe, download it, be a subscriber, go to warrior3project.com, hit that subscribe button. You're going to be have access to our newsletters, upcoming events. We've got all kinds of really cool stuff happening in warrior3project.com. And if you want to be a part of a brotherhood, that's the way to do that. Also, you can also purchase the Warrior 40 Challenge. So what we did is we said, hey, we're going to take some of the best in the business when it comes to live, when it comes to lead, and when it comes to love, and we're going to put together a 40-day challenge for men. All your fitness, all your nutrition, different levels, relationship challenges, but also, hey, I've never read the Bible, or I'm a Bible scholar. That's great. We've got all that kind of stuff for you. 40 days. Jesus went 40 days and 40 nights in the wilderness, and he fasted, and he got healthy, and he basically got himself ready for his mission. So regardless of what it is that you're trying to accomplish, the 40-day challenge is going to help you get there. You can also, when you do that, because you're a listener on the podcast, you can actually go and enter the discount code, all lowercase, strong man, and you're going to receive 20% off of that Warrior 40 purchase. So once again, if you're listening and you want to go to warrior3project.com, enter the discount code STRONGMAN, you're going to get 20% off of your Warrior 40 purchase. So I'm super excited about that. So, hey, before we get into fitness and nutrition, I just want to talk about, like, first off, where are we at? It's one thing to just kind of throw a bunch of fitness and nutrition tips and everything, but I think it's important for us to understand or maybe hit that pain point because no one really wants to move to action unless there's something, a pain point. Where are we at as men? How are we doing as men when it comes to fitness and when it comes to nutrition? And so, here's some statistics. I pulled these right from the CDC, although, I don't really know how much we can trust them at that point, but at the same time, they're numbers and they're data, and most of us know the Center for Disease Control. So an estimated 129 million people in the U.S. have one major chronic disease, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, obesity, hypertension, aka blood pressure, as defined by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. And get this, 5 of the 10 of the top 10 leading chronic diseases in the U.S. are preventable, right? So the things that we're going to talk about today, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, all those types of things, obesity, those are all preventable illnesses. Those are illnesses that I call suicide by lifestyle. And so we're going to dive into some ways that we can prevent or even reverse those. Over the past 2 decades, prevalence has increased steadily. And this is basically what they're saying is that this is just going to keep getting worse and worse and worse. An increasing portion of people in America are dealing with multiple chronic conditions. 42% of men have 2 or more chronic illnesses. 12% have at least 5. Right? So 5 chronic illnesses at one particular point in time. And I can't even imagine how many medications or pharmaceuticals that individual is taking and the side effects because of that. Besides the personal impact that an individual would go through from having a chronic disease, it's plummeting our healthcare system and the cost about 90% of the annual $4.1 trillion healthcare expenditure is attributed to treating a chronic disease. So, I personally, I'm not going to get, political today, but I just want you to understand I'm really excited about, what's happening currently in America, Make America Healthy Again. Robert Kennedy Jr. Is kind of partnering with Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, and I'm pretty excited about that because I think for the first time we're going to begin to get to the bottom. I may not see it in my lifetime, but there's a bright future for our kids. We're going to start asking the hard questions. We're going to start asking the questions. Hey, where's the science? Where's the research? When it comes to vaccinations, we're going to start thinking about, hey, what are we putting in our water? Fluoride. We're going to start thinking about, hey, Eastern European countries have a way stricter guideline when it comes to dyes and GMOs in our food and things like that. Like in the United States, we're allowed to do those kind of things, and Robert Kennedy Jr. is going to lay the hammer down when it comes to these things, and hopefully we can get some change implemented and at least get good quality stuff. Now, it doesn't change the fact that we all have the choice and we've got to choose those things. But at the same time, I think we need the Band-Aid ripped off and we've got to begin to understand how to do that when it comes to that point. So that's what we're going to do today. So here, I guess the question is, and maybe I want to ask you, why is it important as men for us to step it up? I'll tell you, I personally, this is just an area of extreme interest to me. I've been a natural healthcare provider for over 10 years and thousands and thousands of patients, men as well. And, I have seen men struggle with health. I have been a part of a lot of, church and different types of things like that. And, the health and well-being of strong Christian men from a physical standpoint is just really poor right now. We've got individuals that are super jacked, but yet are broken spiritually. Their marriages are falling apart. So, personally, I think, and I'll just say this, you're not a man if you're jacked and worth millions, but you're cheating on your wife, right? You're not a strong man if you can't provide for your family. You're not a strong Christian man if you're 50 pounds overweight and on 5 meds complaining about your back all the time. I think the key word that I want to talk about here, and I know no one really wants to talk about, is balance. I think it's important for us to, be financially stable, spiritually stable, physically stable, emotionally, spiritually, all those things. I think we have to have balance in those. And I think we're really kind of out of balance in a lot of things. I see a lot of men that are, hey, I could recite every single biblical scripture there is, but yet I'm a donut away from a heart attack. Individuals that I could literally, that are just jacked and 5% body fat, but yet it's all about me. It's all about everything. It's, everything is about me. I got the fancy car, got the big house, but, I see my kids every other weekend and, they don't really want to be around me. It's not a great place to be. And so at Warrior 3 Project, we're about trying to create balance in how we live and how we lead and how we love. So, I know people don't like that word. But here's the thing. I personally believe that you can be ripped, you can be really fit, you can love Jesus, you can provide endless opportunities for your family financially, and be married to one woman. I think it's possible. It is possible. It's hard work. Like I said before, the devil's main job in this world is to distract and discourage. And if you're a man and you're like, man, it's really difficult to be balanced in those things, I get it. I'm not the person who's sitting here perfect and don't struggle with certain things, because I do. But I just want you to understand it is possible for you to be in great shape, for you to be financially stable, for you to have a great relationship with the Lord, and to lead those underneath you in that way. But then also, have a great marriage. I find a lot of people in their 30s. I just turned 40. In the 30s and the 40s that are just kind of running around with their chickens with their heads cut off. They're trying to, chase the American dream, and then all of a sudden the kids are out of the house, and you look at your wife and you're like, man, who are you? We got to figure out a way to fall in love again. And a lot of marriages end in divorce around that 50-year mark, because your whole life has been about your kids and your job and your business and your mission, and you didn't have balance there. So we want to try to create that. And when it comes to balance, I like to order my life, and I would challenge you, if you're listening to this, like, are you ordering your life in this way? And if you're not, I would challenge you that you're probably not in the right order. I try to live my life, and it's very difficult, and there's a lot of gaps at times, but I really try to look at God, family, mission. Like this is the way that I want you to think about ordering your life. And so, when it comes to that, when it comes to the physical fitness side of things, and I'm, trying to really be balanced in those ways, God, family, mission. I love this verse. Why is it important for me to honor God by honoring my body? Why is it important for me to be a good example and a steward over my physical body so that way I can help lead others? People should look at you, men, and say, man, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like you just seem like you're doing a lot of things well. That should open up your physical appearance should open up opportunities for men to want to have conversation and say, hey man, can I, what are you doing? I need some help. And there's a lot of opportunities that can open there, a lot of doors that can open. And so 1 Corinthians 6:19 says, do you not know that your bodies are the temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. And so if you're out there and you're, I would say, a Christian man, and you're not necessarily taking care of your body, I would highly recommend that you really dive into this scripture. And it just doesn't mean sexual immorality. It doesn't just mean, abortion and why it is that, we don't do that or why we shouldn't do that. It's talking about our physical bodies and that your body is not your body. Your body is basically on loan. It's kind of like a rental car or a lease. One of these days, you were given this body, and so we have to steward over it. We have to take care of it. We really don't get it. I guess we get a choice. You can do what you want, but there will be consequences for desecrating the temple that God has given you. So, that's from the God side of things. Like, why do I wake up in the morning? Why do I, think about what I'm putting in my body? Yes, I want to look good. Yes, I want to perform well. But I think from a Christian standpoint and a man after God's own heart has to say, am I able to do the things that I need to do from a mission standpoint that God's called me to, or is my physical body holding me back? If this is the temple that God has given me, which it is, am I stewarding over that well? And if, we can make excuses, the McDonald's and, whatever. It's okay. I'll get a brand new body in heaven. It's a really crappy attitude to have. And as Christians, we've got to change that. Number 2 is family. This is John 10:11. It says, and this is Jesus, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for his sheep. Now, this is Jesus talking. So we're not the ultimate shepherd, but I am a shepherd over my family. I am the shepherd over the flock in my clinic. Like, I'm the shepherd. I'm the one who's leading them physically. I'm the one who's helping them, stay away from wolves. I'm helping them stay away from toxic pharmaceutical drugs and making bad decisions. Now, I can't force them to do that. But in this particular context, I want you to think of you like you are a shepherd. Men, you are a shepherd over your home. You are a shepherd over your wife. You are a shepherd over your kids. If you're running a business, you are a shepherd over your employees. And so therefore, a good shepherd leads by example. Less talk, more doing. Are you a doer, or are you just a follower, or are you just like a hearer of the word? The Bible says, let us be doers of the word, not just hearers of the word. And so a good shepherd is somebody that can sacrifice himself for the betterment of others. And in order to do that, there comes struggle, there comes hardship. And I would even say we got to be a little bit tough. And so if you're not in the physical shape, mental, emotional standpoint to be able to be a shepherd, to take the blows for the betterment of your family, then we've got to step it up. Number 3 is mission. I love this, Matthew 28:19, therefore go, right? So that's the key word that I want you to think about, or the key, part of this is go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. So basically, this is the Great Commission, go, so hey, you are a shepherd. You have had an absolute life change. And now it's time for you to go and to do your job, which is to do whatever it is that God has called you to do. And so I find a lot of people have a hard time going. They have a hard time doing what it is that they want to do at the level they want to do it. And so therefore they have to cut corners. It's such a shame. It breaks my heart when I see a strong man that dies early of their God-given potential because of something they could have prevented. And then all of a sudden they blame it and say, hey, well, that was my time. That was my time. Listen, you can work out all day long. You can read every Bible scripture. You can be the best, strongest, whatever it is that you want to be, and you can walk across the street and die today. Like I get that. Like I'm not saying that, we're the controller of everything. That's not what I'm saying. However, I get really annoyed when I find and see Christians that are living suicide by lifestyle, horrible nutrition, 50 pounds overweight. They get cancer and die, and then they blame it and say, "Well, it was just my time." No, we did that. That's a physiological response that's happening within the body. We didn't steward over the temple that God has given us. We didn't take responsibility. We're putting responsibility onto somebody else. And so it's important for us to be healthy and fit so that way we have the opportunity to go. Take away the accidents, take away the things of like, hey, the fit 40-year-old that just, died in a car accident, had a great life. Like I can't tell you why God does that all the time. He does. And good and bad things happen to great people. But I'm talking about the individuals that are not necessarily doing their part, that die early before they have the ability to go. And so don't let that be you. So we're talking about fitness and we're talking about nutrition, but I wanted to kind of go through, hey, God, family, mission. Why is it important for us to take this into consideration and to be healthy? We need healthier men. And so I want to go through, really when it comes to fitness, I want to go through 3 rocks. So I want you to think about, I talk about this with my staff, and there's a really good book out there that if you're, in business, it's called Traction. And if you're looking for just kind of guidelines and ways to kind of model your company, that book is really good. And, it talks about like a mason jar, right? So your business is kind of like a mason jar. So in here, I'm talking about fitness. Like this is the fitness mason jar. And we're going to talk about 3 rocks. So the 3 biggest things that are going to take up the majority of the space of that mason jar. I'm not going to talk about pebbles today. I'm not going to talk about sand today. There are a lot of things that you can do and tweak here or there, but I find that these are the 3 things that if you don't get these down, it doesn't really matter all the gimmicks and all the other things out there. These 3 things have to happen. So we're going to talk about those today. Number 1 is consistency. I get asked this quite a bit. Dr. B, you're always pretty fit. You're always pretty even keel. Like I don't ever see you kind of slipping, and I slip sometimes. I'll be honest with you. I'm not perfect, and I don't expect anybody to be perfect on here. I mean, that's Jesus's job, and he's flawless, and that's why we have a Savior. But the point is here is that you're not. The goal is not perfection, but I will tell you that you need to be consistent in your fitness. People want the quick fix. We were in a quick fix world. I purchased a 40-day challenge. I expect to have life-changing results in 40 days. Some of you will. Some of you need 120 days. Some of you need 40 years. Some of you need just consistent over the course of time for a long period of time in order for you to just kind of backtrack from the last 25 years of committing suicide by lifestyle. Everybody's got a different timeline, but we need to be consistent. And I think the biggest reason or why people are not consistent is because you're focused on the outcome, not the process. I'm really big on this right now that you need to fall in love with the process of fitness. You need to fall in love with the process of working out. You cannot fall in love with the outcome because maybe your outcome isn't going to be what you want it to be when you want it to be there. For instance, hey, I'm doing all the nutrition, I'm doing this, but I don't have the abs that I want yet. Fall in love with the process and who you become in the process versus focusing on the outcome. I tell patients that. Coming in with, 5 different medications, 50 pounds overweight, my back hurts, and I expect to be better right now. And I say, listen, I'm not your healer. We're just really good at removing interference, but I need you to fall in love with the process, or I'm going to help you fall in love with the process of being healthy, of eating good food, of exercising, of waking up at the same time and going to bed and having a routine. Like there's an awesome opportunity to fall in love with that. And if you fall in love with the process, when the outcome doesn't always go the way that you want, you're still kind of on the consistency train. And that's kind of where I've been, over the last however many years, is that I don't always get what I want. I don't always, hit the mark. But because I'm in love with the process of trying to reach the mark, that's where I every single day, I don't like hit the snooze button and say, you know what, I didn't get what I wanted, or I'm not where I want to be, so the heck with it. Swing through McDonald's and slug an Egg McMuffin and a massive copy, and the hell with it. Like that's not a great way to live, right? So we've got to fall in love with the process. A couple like really kind of just things to help you with your consistency is I find men when it comes to programming, like how many days a week should you work out, and this person's doing the 75 hard, and two workouts a day and 45 minutes a piece. I mean, it's just some of it's just not. You're setting yourself up for failure because it's not something that you can be consistent doing. I'm going to do the Murph every single day for a year. Like, I'm going to do run a 5K every single day for 365 days. I mean, people are doing some really, really interesting things right now. So I'm going to talk to you about what I find and what helps to be consistent. We talk about this, in the Warrior 40 Challenge, and that's kind of how the Warrior 40 Challenge is laid out. Is 3 days on and 1 day off. I find that to be a very, very good and consistent schedule. So 3 active work days of, fitness, however it is that you want to do that. And then 1 day off. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I would train. Thursday, I would be taking what we call in Warrior 3, an active recovery day. So maybe you go for a run. Maybe you just go on a hike with your kids. Maybe you, you go for a ruck, or maybe you go canoeing or biking. I don't care what you're doing, but you're not like, throwing weight around. You're not doing any kind of like program per se. You're just playing, like you're just having fun. Like I think we need to play more. I think we need to have more fun. I think fitness can be fun. Go to a Ninja Warrior course with your kids. Go to Hocking Hills or go to a state park somewhere and hike. It should be fun. This is a day where you're just kind of like, hey, I'm not following anything. I'm not trying to hit a PR. I'm just trying to be a good dad, and I'm trying to lead by example in an active recovery day. And I would also say that, 3 days a week, 3 days on, 1 day off, someone would say, well, that's a lot. And I would actually argue that the American College of Sports Medicine, I'm certified through National Academy of Sports Medicine. I'm also exercise physiology bachelor's. I was Division I strength and conditioning coach. So I kind of understand physiology, and I'm going to kick back on the American College of Sports Medicine. So we'll go, hey, 3 days a week of, moderate to high intensity exercise. I personally don't think that's enough for men. In the world we're living in today, we sit way too much, 55% of the time. We've got a million different things going through our head. We're stressed. Fitness for me is more about the emotional part than it is the physical part. So I would tell you that 3 days a week, like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, is not enough. Like 4 days of not doing anything is not enough. Like you're not going to see great results doing that. And I know that hurts some of you because it's like, well, I'm not doing anything. Well, if you need to start there, start there. But I'm telling you, if you're not where you need to be because you're going for a walk for 30 minutes, 3 days a week, you're going to need to step up the intensity a little bit. And I would challenge you to say 3 days on, 1 day off, 3 days on, 1 day off. And so that's the best way that I can tell you just to build consistency in a training program. Programming, this is one of the other things, or the rocks, is that I find first off is training and consistency. And then, the programming that goes involved with that. Like I have no idea what to do. I just have no idea what to do. I've had a gentleman reach out to me just the other day, and he said, "Hey man, you look great. I've been following you. We went to college together. We wrestled together in college." And he goes, "Man, you just look jacked. Like what are you doing?" And so, this guy was just going to a website and doing the workout and crushing himself. And then his shoulder blows out and all these different things. And I think it's important that that we have some really good programming that meets where we are at. Stop doing programming that's meant for elite level athletes that you're never going to be. I don't mean to burst your ego bubble, but some of us just need to hang it up. We were great athletes in high school. We're not there anymore. And the job for us is just to be a good, healthy, fit dad that stays alive to see our grandkids. That's the goal. So we're not trying to squat snatch 250 pounds anymore. Maybe we're not trying to run marathons anymore. I don't know. If you're there, you're there. But if you're not there, don't try to do programming from somebody who's there, who's pushing you through that. I love David Goggins, but there's a little bit of unhealthiness with that as well. And so we want to make sure that we're in a program that fits well for us. So in the Warrior 40, we've actually broken it down into 3 different levels: strong, stronger, and strongest. So if you'd ever picked up a weight before in your life, it's body weight. Once you graduate 40 days, then you can go to, some kettlebells and some dumbbells. And then once you go to elite or strongest, then you can start doing some barbell work and different things like that. But you got to build and you got to follow a program. I find that there's two different methods that most people kind of, lean towards. And it's what I call the hopper mentality and the bodybuilding mentality. So there's two different types of programs that people do. And I'll be honest with you, I think that I like a little bit of both. We call it what you want, functional bodybuilding, whatever you want to do. I don't think that we should only just do burpees and pull-ups every day for the rest of our lives and then fall on the ground and die. But I also don't think that we should just do bicep, tricep extensions and, every 2 minute set, flex our biceps, text our girlfriend. I don't think that that's necessarily great either. I think that we need to have a healthy mix between the two, and we try to do that in the Warrior 40. But here's kind of how I break it down for me, right? So when you think about this 3 days on, 1 day off, I like to do 3 days a week of strength movements, right? So a little bit of bodybuilding, a little bit of strength work, so that way, and then when I get into my high intensity or metabolic conditioning, then I'm prepared for that. Some people are just not very strong. Some people need to squat more. Some people need to press more. Like some people just have no butt. Like if you don't have a butt, you're going to have knee problems. You're going to have back problems. You're going to have hip problems. So maybe you got to slow down, stop doing burpees and stop doing half air squats and slow down and do a little bit deeper, a little bit more more periodization or bodybuilding or Olympic lifting kind of stuff. But I like to do it like this. So I like to set the clock. So if it's a Monday, normally it's my squat day on Monday just because Mondays suck. And I'm like, well, I might as well squat. And so I like to do 10 minutes of squats. So I set the clock every minute on the minute for 10 minutes. I'll start at a lighter weight and every minute I'll just kind of build up. After 10 minutes, I'm done with squat. And then I'll go into my high intensity interval training that I'm doing on the Warrior 40. They take about 10 to 15, maybe 20, 30 minutes for the high intensity. I personally don't think that you should be in the gym any more than 30 minutes to an hour. If you are, you're probably talking too much or you're just not working hard enough. And then the next day would be like a push day, right? So that could maybe be a bench press. I personally like dumbbell bench press. I like, shoulder pressing, things like that. 1 arm, 2 arm. Switch it up a little bit. 10 minutes, every minute on the minute. I increase in weight. I like to do anywhere from about 5 to 10 reps in those. And then once I'm done there, then I'll go right into my high intensity interval training. And then the next day for the week would be a pull day, right? So whether it be a deadlift or maybe a kettlebell swing or something like that, or a sumo deadlift to high pull or something. Every minute on the minute for 10 minutes, increasing in weight. So that way I build strength, and then I'll go into my high intensity interval training, 30 minutes. I rarely, to be honest with you, gentlemen, I rarely ever work out longer than 30 minutes. I've got 4 kids under the age of 10, and I heard it once said that, do you know what it's like to have 4 kids? Just imagine you're drowning and somebody hands you a baby, right? So like life is just a lot right now. And so I'm still in great shape. I'm less than 10% body fat and I don't work out more than 30 minutes. My diet's in check, but that's what it looks like. So 3 days on, 1 day off, 10 minutes of strength with a squat, with a push, with a pull. I feel like it can be consistent that way. Start where you need to be at and gradually work yourself up. Recovery. This is like the last jar, like this is the last rock that's in the fitness jar. And then we'll kind of go into, some of the nutrition stuff, but recovery is important. I find that a lot of individuals are working out really hard, or you're just not spending enough time recovering, and you're injured. As a chiropractor, as somebody that deals with like a cause-driven approach, I find that most injuries are just self-initiated. I'm not stretching enough. I'm not mobilizing enough. I'm not taking good care of my spine, my nervous system. I'm not sleeping enough. I'm taking crappy Walmart supplementation. I'm just trying to skimp by. I'm working out, but I'm eating fast food all the time. Like, as you get older, I don't believe that as you get older, you should just fall apart. That's not the case. But I do believe that as we get older, you have to take a little bit better care of yourself because you can't get away with the things that you did when you were 18. When I was 18, 20 years old, I could just work out and then party on the weekends and then do it all again on Monday. It just doesn't work like that. Like if you're over the age of 40 or even in your mid 30s and your joints are falling apart, like you got to clean it up. You got to put good fuel in the Lamborghini if you want to have maximum output. So recovery, I want to talk about, just sleep. I want to talk about some supplementation, and really just overall structural maintenance. And plug here, I'm a chiropractor, whether or not you come see me or not, and you're in, the Columbus area, whatever. But I do want you to understand that I do believe that chiropractic is on the cutting edge of cause-driven healthcare. If you're a guy out there and your shoulders hurt, your hips hurt, your knees hurt, your neck hurts, your back hurts, your last case scenario should ever be shots and surgery. I've had neck surgery. I've had 4 knee surgeries. I would do it all over again if I could find a structural-based corrective lifestyle chiropractor. They're not all like that. And so there are some really great chiropractors out there. If you're interested, you want me to find you one, just go to the website, send us an email, and I'll make sure that you and your family get plugged in with somebody who's going to lead you strong. And so the structural aspect of things, like just the maintenance of the body, getting adjusted. My wife's a chiropractor, so I get checked, and my doctors, other doctors in my clinic, they check me once a week. Obviously, I don't have to pay for it, but at the same time, it just keeps me at a level that not a lot of people are at. When it comes to supplementation, I get this a lot, and I just want to raise caution to the wind that I feel like this is a big thing right now. But here's what I want you to understand. If you're eating crappy food and you're not taking care of the fuel that you're putting in, don't do that first. If you could eat your food and that would be your supplement, then that's what we should focus on. That's why they call it a supplement. It should be a supplement to good food. It should be a supplement to good quality, whole, organic, grass-fed, wild-caught, good oils, not rancid oils, no sugar, like just good stuff, which is why I'm really excited, like I said, about, Robert Kennedy Jr. kind of stepping in because, look at the guy. He walks the walk. He eats that way. He lives that way. And, we need that kind of leadership right now when it comes to the health and well-being of our country. So I'm going to go through a few staples of just from a performance standpoint, and then I'm going to go through like what I call the core 5. So a few things that I take on a regular basis. So like the 4 things that I take for performance, but also could be just overall health and wellness as well, right? Number 1 is a grass-fed bone broth protein. So after every single workout, I do about 25 to 30 grams of a grass-fed, wild-caught. Grass-fed. You don't catch cows, but grass-fed bone broth protein. A couple of reasons. One, grain-fed animals, they're toxic. They are going to have a lot more antibiotics, and they're fed grain. So the omega-3 to omega-6 fatty acid ratio is going to be all over the place, and you're basically taking away the whole point of taking protein and eating healthy because you're getting a massive boost of inflammation. So make sure you're taking 100% grass-fed whey. And I say bone broth because I would actually tell you that most men that are listening to this, you probably have gut microbiome, aka interstitial kind of inflammation, leaky gut that you don't really know you have. A couple of ways that you can tell if you have this or not. If you get tired a lot. If you crash in the middle of the day, if you're depressed or anxious, or 90% of the body's serotonin, or the brain's serotonin, is produced in the gut. Skin issues, psoriasis, acne, any kind of big skin problem is a gut problem, not a skin problem. Hey, I don't have normal bowel movements. Like I don't go to the bathroom much at all, or I just I could poop through a screen door. Like those are issues with your gut, and so bone broth, whey. Can be very, very toxic to a body that's got gut issues. So whey is taken out of bone broth, and you basically get all the, the amino acids and all the protein that you need, but you just don't have the dairy or the casein that you would get from a regular cow's milk. So grass-fed bone broth protein. Number 2, I like to do a greens powder. I use Thorne's greens powder, just a quality greens. I don't eat a ton of grains as much as I did anymore that I used to. I kind of eat more lower glycemic index fruits, lots of fats, lots of proteins, a little bit of greens here or there. But a good greens powder, to put in your shake or your smoothie is really good to do. You got a lot of micronutrients in there, antioxidants, things, during the wintertime. which I would argue that, are we supposed to eat vegetables in the wintertime? I mean, it's a frozen wasteland out there right now, and, there aren't a whole lot of greens, right? So as a hunter-gatherer society, were we supposed to eat greens? Or were we supposed to live off of organ meats and fats and nuts and things like that we've stored up? So just something to think about. But greens powder, really good to do to supplement within. And then what I like to do is a branched chain amino acid. And BCAA, right? So branched chain amino acid, this is what I'll actually put in my, like a pre-workout. So I'll do a scoop of branched chain amino acids. I'll do a scoop of creatine, about 5 grams of creatine, and then I'll do a scoop or a packet of Element or LMNT, electrolyte packet, which I'll talk about all those in detail. But branched chain amino acids. Basically, a branched chain amino acid from a definition standpoint is any type of amino acid that has a chain that branches off to one side, a branched chain amino acid. This includes 3 amino acids, leucine, isoleucine, and valine. All 3 are considered essential amino acid, which means that your body is unable to produce them on its own, and they need to be obtained from food sources or a supplement. So these branched chain amino acids are really important when it comes to the breakdown of muscle, also liver health and production of energy during exercise. So I am not about a bunch of energy drinks full of caffeine that have all kinds of like sucralose and aspartame, potassium, and all kinds of toxic sugars. A black cup of coffee before you work out, a little bit of caffeine, do some branched chain amino acids, and it's really, really good for muscle recovery. And then the creatine. Creatine is getting quite a bit of a hype these days. Joe Rogan's talking about it. When Joe Rogan talks about it, everybody talks about it, which is pretty cool. But, creatine, it used to be kind of like for the big guys. You did it in high school and you wanted to, put on weight to get jacked. But really, creatine is good for, muscle building qualities, but it's also good for cognitive health. If you're not sleeping well, it's just good for just the brain. I personally believe that everybody should be taking about 5 grams of creatine a day. But what is creatine? So creatine monohydrate is a peptide that is made from amino acids, but basically the building blocks of protein. So you can't have a quality protein unless you have the building blocks of protein. It is a form in the liver. It is formed in the liver, the pancreas, and the kidneys, mostly with the help of amino acids, glycine and arginine. So it's something that you would naturally get through like meat and different things like that, but it's really good to supplement, especially if you've got liver congestion, and different things like that you're not able to produce it properly. A couple things that I want to talk about that creatine helps with. Number one, it helps with protein synthesis, which is it helps in lean muscle mass, just your ability to produce lean muscle mass. I've actually seen women in the office that have been working out for years, all of a sudden 5 grams of creatine. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? I just started taking creatine. I'm leaning out like crazy. Protein synthesis is super important. And so about 5 grams of protein helps with the protein or the breakdown of muscle to help it build back up effectively. Obviously improves strength and performance. It helps in muscle recovery. It also boosts brain health. Creatine offers like neuroprotective properties, which helps in cognitive enhancement, such as alertness, concentration, and intention. Which, if you're out there and you struggle to focus, about 5 grams of creatine, like after your workout in the morning, it's better than Adderall on all different levels, right? It may improve your heart health. This was a creatine study that shows that it has cardioprotective properties. It actually might help protect the blood vessels of the heart and is shown to support increased endurance and anaerobic capacity. So anaerobic meaning oxygenated cardiovascular capacity. So your ability for your heart to be able to function and pump blood to your body effectively. It also may help improve bone density. So a lot of people over the age of 50 or 40 going through different type of hormone things, creatine is a great way to do that. I talked about LMNT or Element. Really, really awesome supplementation. And I think a lot of people kind of stay away from it because they're like, oh, it's too much salt in that. Salt is actually really great for you, and we don't get enough salt. But here's the deal. This supplement or this Element supplement was designed for individuals who are eating a really good, clean, high protein, low sugar, and an unprocessed diet. Which an unprocessed diet doesn't have a lot of salt. So you need to have a little bit more salt in your diet when you do this. So if you're living off McDonald's French fries, and you're basically drinking beer, pizza every night, like having some element might actually increase your sodium levels too much. You might start to, swell a little bit. But if you're eating a good quality diet, like all of us should be doing, based upon what I talked about today, on the why behind taking care of your body, then we need to actually have a little bit more salt in our diet than what we think. And especially if you're exercising and you're sweating and you're not having a diet full of junk and complex carbohydrates and processed food, then you're going to need to have a little bit better 3-to-1 ratio of sodium and potassium. And so sodium and potassium pump within the body, like this is just, high level physiology, but there's a sodium potassium pump in your body, and it's a life sustaining protein pump that's vital for our neurons and our cell membranes. If anything happens to the ratio of that sodium potassium pump, it has a huge deal to do with blood pressure, has a huge deal to do with just overall swelling and coronary heart disease and all that kind of stuff. So a 3-to-2 ratio of sodium to potassium is very, very important. And in that element packet that I put in with my creatine and my branched chain amino acids is a great way in the morning, kind of as I'm working out or before I work out, while I'm having a cup of coffee in God's Word, prepping for the workout is just a great pre-workout. The last thing I'll talk about here when it comes to recovery from a supplement standpoint or just overall health, I call it the Big Five. This is something that I take every single day, whether or not I'm working out or not. It's just for overall health. And I say that because these are things that you can't get through your diet, even if you're eating an impeccable diet. Like I have a really good diet. My kids have a really good diet. My wife, and our patients, they have a great diet. Why do you still want your patients to take these? Why do I want men to take these? The Big Five. Number one, an omega-3 fatty acid. You cannot eat enough wild-caught fish and things like that to have a proper 2-to-1 omega-3 to omega-6 ratio of fatty acids. So a wild-caught, sardines, anchovy, kind of oil, krill oil, really good for anti-inflammatory properties, achy joints, things like that. Vitamin D3, it's great for the immune system. Most of us don't spend enough time outside, direct sunlight on the skin, and so we need to make sure we have vitamin D3. A good probiotic. I would just say most of us don't absorb the food that we're bringing in. We're just basically undigested food, and we're not getting nutrient transfer. Our guts are leaky, so a good probiotic helps to just kind of seed and make sure that we've got the good amounts of good versus bad bacteria. B vitamins. B vitamins are just super important for energy production within the body. Back to 5th grade science, you got the citric acid cycle, and that B vitamin kind of feeds that wheel of ATP and energy production. So without B vitamins, it's really difficult for your nervous system to do what it needs to do. And then magnesium glycinate, which is the best form that you can get of magnesium. It's good for neurology. It's good for muscle recovery. It's good for your brain. Most individuals are deficient in these things. So if you're going to supplement with something, make sure it's their high quality supplementation, and make sure that you stick to these 5. Anything outside of this, vitamin C, zinc, Pro-NAC, all these different types of things that people are taking. You don't really need to take those things unless it's a situational basis. Like I'm not feeling good, I want to really drive my immune system up. Take some Pro-NAC, take some vitamin C, and so forth. Last thing, probably one of the most important things is sleep. Hey, I'm working out and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm eating a good diet. I'm taking great supplements, but I'm getting 4 hours of sleep. You're not going to recover well. Your engine's going to implode. Personally, I'm kind of going through this a little bit right now. I've got my 4th son. He's 7 months old. None of my kids have really ever slept amazing. We adjusted them. My kids have never had any shots or anything like that. My kids have never really been to a doctor. They're never had an ear infection. They're super healthy. It's like they don't know. They just 3 hours and then they're up for an hour. It's not great for your immune system. It's not great for muscle recovery. So, if you're going through that particular phase of your life with young kids, just take it easy. Listen to your body. Don't overtrain. Still train, but don't overtrain. But if you're out of that season, make sure that you're getting 7 to 8 hours of good quality sleep. Just because stress and it affects the body. One study showed that sleep-deprived men have impaired glucose metabolism, decreased testosterone, and increased afternoon cortisol. Which basically, if you have decreased testosterone and increased cortisol, your sex drive goes down, your body fat goes up. And you're wondering why it is that your hair's falling out and you're getting love handles and man boobs, right? So you make sure that you really get good quality sleep, 7 to 8 hours a night. Last thing is, hey, right as soon as you get out, you got your workout in, you've got your post-workout protein shake or whatever, you hop in the shower, last 30 seconds to a minute, turn that bad boy on cold. A lot of research right now on just the response of cold water immersion and how it affects and helps with recovery. Also helps with brain neurophysiology. It affects the nerve endings and how your body throughout the day is actually able to adapt and handle stress because of that cold water in the morning. It sucks. It's not a fun process, but I will tell you that nothing will be harder in the day than what you did in the morning in cold water, right? So I like to be around 35 to 40 degrees. Start at 30 seconds, maybe go to a minute, maybe then get an ice tub, and sometimes I'll go 5-10 minutes depending upon how much time I have, and really how miserable it is outside. So there you go. Number 3, we're talking about nutrition, or the fitness and the nutrition piece. So we're going on to the number 2, which is the nutrition piece. I think the biggest thing here is, you talk about quality versus quantity. So when you think of quality versus quantity, I feel like we're in this big macro thing right now. And I'm not anti-macro. I don't count my carbs. I don't measure my food. I don't weigh my food. I think that's crazy. If you have to do that, then fine. But I just don't think that we were programmed to do that. But I want to talk about quality versus quantity, and then I want to talk about health versus performance, right? Because I think these things are important to talk about before we talk about nutrition. Number one, quality of your food is really important. If you think, I use the analogy of a car. The quality of the fuel that you put into that performance engine is very important. If you just put diesel fuel in a Lamborghini, the outside is going to look great, but the inside is not going to run right. So when I think quality, what I mean is grass-fed beef, wild-caught fish, pasture-raised, free-ranging pork, and I would even minimize pork because they're not the greatest animals with viruses and parasites and things like that. And then eggs, pasture-raised eggs, grass-fed cheese, different things like that. So those are the protein, the animal sources, organic, fresh fruits and vegetables, sprouted grains if you're going to eat grains, organic, raw nuts and seeds. Good oils, right? Not rancid oils, no canola oil, no vegetable oil, none of that stuff that's going to basically turn rancid when it's heated to a high temperature. Stick to things like coconut oil, things like not canola oil, but olive oil, right? Things like what's the other one? Avocado oil. That's the other one. Avocado oil. So the thing with olive oil is that you don't want to use olive oil and cook with it. Like you want to use avocado oil for that. You want to use olive oil raw. It has a pretty low melting temperature. So when you hear that, see that big steam, it's turning rancid, and that can turn into free radicals and cancer. So I think that just kind of sums up the quality standpoint. But I feel like a lot of people, especially, maybe even in the bodybuilding or the performance world, is that, hey, I got my macros. I'm doing, 60% protein, 30% this, 10% that. But the quality of the food that I'm putting in, it doesn't really matter. I look jacked. My strength gains are up, but my gut sucks. I'm depressed. And then 10 years down the road, I get cancer, right? So I think these are the things that, you never want to sacrifice your health for performance, which is what I'll, kind of go into next, is if you only want to perform well and you only want to look great, then cheat. Take steroids or something. I'm not condoning that. I'm just saying that if your only goal is to perform better, then you're going to do whatever it is that you have to do that. But I will tell you this: if your goal is health, like if you're doing the things necessary to be healthy, you're always going to perform better, right? So when I find that athletes are like, hey, I'm going to watch my macros. I'm going to take supplementation. I'm going to work out hard, but I'm never going to sacrifice the quality of what I'm putting in my body for just the quantity. I find that these athletes can do amazing things, and individuals, men like you and I, can do awesome things at a high level for a way longer time versus the person who just did it for, hey, it's all about performance. It's just, quantity, whatever it is. And then all of a sudden my liver breaks down, or I get cancer, or, I've got colon cancer, or my skin looks horrible, right? I mean, look at a lot of guys' skin that is at a high performance and they've got plaque psoriasis and all these different things. I mean, that's a gut problem. We've got to think about quality of the stuff that we're putting in. So the next thing that I want to, kind of touch base on when it comes to nutrition that I think is huge for men, and I can't say this about for women, because women are a little bit different from a hormonal standpoint. And I find that if I took 80% of men and I had you do this, you would probably lose 15 to 20 pounds in about 40 days, which is why we have people do it within the Warrior 40. It's called intermittent fasting. This was actually in the Journal of Cancer in 2021. And it says this, it says, we propose that intermittent fasting or periodic fasting can reduce tumor incidence, or both by delaying and aging, preventing DNA damage, and also killing damaged precancerous and cancerous cells. Let me say that again. So intermittent fasting and then periodic fasting not only decreases the incidence of tumor production, but it also increases your ability for your body to kill it, and then precancerous and cancerous cells. This always makes me want to scratch my head of why it is that cancer institutes in the United States at hospitals don't have patients do this. It came from a medical journal. It's right here. It was probably written by medical professionals, but we're not doing it, right? Chemotherapy, radiation, and then, hey, go drink Ensure, to get your weight back up full of junk. It's pretty disgusting, actually. But intermittent fasting, what does this look like for men? A couple reasons why I like it. Number one is it's effective and it's simple. I find that men are a little different than women. Got to keep it simple. Number two, I think it's very cost effective. When we're going to have good quality food, we're not going to have to eat as much. And we've got windows in there, and we just got to have a little bit more self-control. That's the hard part. So, for example, let's say you eat dinner at 7 o'clock. You're going to start your fasting window at 11 a.m., and you're going to do 8 hours of eating until 7, and then you're going to fast 16 hours around the clock. So, for instance, typical day for me is I eat dinner around 7 o'clock, 6, 7 o'clock. And it varies, because I'm a chiropractor and I have later hours on certain days, and, coaching wrestling and things like that. Sometimes we have to eat, a little bit earlier, 5:30, 6, depending upon the day. But generally, 10 to 6 for me, right? So I wake up in the morning, 5:15. I will have LMNT, creatine, and my branched chain amino acids, and I'll have an organic cup of black coffee, maybe a little bit of raw honey. And I will drink that as I get into my word, Bible, devotional, maybe whatever we have for the Warrior 40 on the lead or the Love Strong side of things. And then I'll go right into my workout. I'll do 10 minutes of strength, and I'll do some type of a HIIT or a Metcon. It takes me about 30 minutes. Right after that, I will have a protein shake. So technically, yes, I will break my fast, but I'm just not chewing anything, okay? I'll have a protein shake. I'll take it to work with me. I'll drink a smoothie or a protein shake, depending if I do a smoothie. Then I'll wait until 10 or 11 to have the rest of it. Then I'll snack on things like a Granny Smith apple, nuts, almond butter. I love to do like chomp jerky sticks. I just killed my son, my 7-year-old, just harvested his first deer. Super excited about it. So we got jerky sticks and, steaks and all kinds of stuff. And so we're just snacking on jerky sticks all day. Right. And then I'm drinking half my body weight in ounces in water, good clean water, just constantly throughout the day. Maybe I'll have another cup of coffee here or there. And at 6 o'clock, I'll have dinner. I'll have 4 to 6 ounces of chicken, fish, or steak, natural, wild caught, grass fed, and I'll have maybe a sweet potato or some broccoli or whatever like that. Not a ton of cruciferous green leafy vegetables, maybe a piece of fruit, and then that'll be it. And then what I'll do is I'll have water. If I'm starving before I go to bed, maybe I'll have a hard-boiled egg, but no complex carbohydrates really for me. And I'll tell you, when you do that, you're just way more metabolic. Actually find about 1,000% increase in natural testosterone when you're intermittent fasting like that. And you know, like I said, this is for 80% of people. If you're that person who's like, man, I tried that, didn't work. One, you're probably not working out hard enough. Number two, you're probably have some metabolic stuff going on. So if that's you and you're like, hey, I'm trying that, go to warrior3project.com, reach out to us, and I can help guide you through some testing and some blood work and some things that we can do to help you with that. Cheat meals. Someone says, hey, are you perfect all the time when it comes to your nutrition? No, I'm not. I like to have, a good quality bourbon every once in a while. I love Koval bourbon, Koval, Koval. And I'll do, this is a really great summer drink, by the way. You do like an organic lemonade and freeze the into those like nice square cubes. And then you take that organic Koval, which is actually distilled in Chicago, just a cleaner bourbon, and put that organic lemonade inside that bourbon. Let the heat kind of that'll melt into the bourbon. It's just a great summer bourbon drink. So that's a cheat for me. A really cool snack that I love to do that just kind of helps curb sugar, because I'm kind of a sweets guy. I love sweets. So if my wife makes like healthy paleo chocolate chip cookies, I'll eat like 30 of them. It's just, I'm not that kind of person. It's like, hey, let's eat 2 and save them for next week. Like that doesn't really exist in my house with 4 kids, and all boys. But a really great like sugar curbing, just cheat. I wouldn't even call it a cheat. It's just something that help you kind of. I love to snack on it. Me and the boys love it. Do some like unsweetened, grass-fed yogurt, A2 yogurt, or like goat yogurt, or I like to do coconut-based yogurt just because I don't do a whole lot of dairy. Unsweetened, do some organic frozen cherries, mix them in there with the yogurt, and then actually some raw honey on top. It's delicious. Frozen cherries are amazing. They're super sweet. They're super good for the liver, and they're an awesome treat. So if your kids are always like mine, like, hey, what are we going to have for a snack? And you don't want to do ice cream and all kinds of dyes and popsicles, then frozen cherries with a little bit of raw honey on top, it's just a great cheat. You're welcome for that. I talked about alcohol. I talked about those kind of things. Keep it in moderation. I mean, anything can be anything that is meant for good. The Bible doesn't say that we shouldn't drink alcohol, but we shouldn't be a drunkard. So most guys, you probably just need to cut it out. It is not great, for the brain. It is not great for muscle recovery. They say about 2 to 4 drinks a week is about really all you should be doing. Otherwise, we're going to start to break down neurophysiology. And so just think about that. Just make sure to stay away from the sugar. It's really the sugar and the hoppiness and the grains that really get us. So if you could go to like a more of a lower sugar, just keep it in moderation, and we'll be good to go. So, hey, just to recap, as we talked about a lot today, number one is we got to be consistent with our fitness. We got to have a good program, and we also have to make sure that we're recovering well. When it comes to nutrition, never sacrifice your health for performance. We got to always think about, is what I'm doing improving my health or building disease? And so therefore we can't sacrifice quality food, quality supplementation. You're going to be able to perform for a longer period of time. And that's the goal, right? I mean, who cares if you were a Division I All-American and then now you're 50 and you're 50 pounds overweight and have cancer? Like, who cares? I get more respect for the guy who's 75, 80, who can still do a thruster and go sled riding with his grandkids up and down a massive hill without pulling an oxygen tank behind him. I mean, that's kind of what the point is here. And so make sure that we're doing quality. Always focus on your health. And like I said, nobody's perfect. Begin to implement some of this stuff. And everybody's different, so what works for you, what works for somebody else may not work for you, right? So try it out. Begin to take some of these things. Make sure you go to warrior3project.com. We've always got awesome newsletters every single week. You can subscribe. If you've got questions, reach out to us. I'd love to, dive deeper with you, get to know you a little bit more. We've got all kinds of upcoming things happening, events, swag coming out, just really, really cool stuff happening. If you want to purchase the Warrior 40 Challenge, go to warrior3project.com, click on Join the Warrior 40. The discount code is STRONGMAN, all lowercase, STRONGMAN. You're going to get 20% off your purchase there just by coming through the podcast. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And then next time, we'll get stronger together. I pray that you live, lead, and love strong, gentlemen. Have a good day.